Yo, 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 and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
podcast.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday and happy episode 226.
226.
I think I was basing it off of your number in Google Docs.
That's correct then.
Great.
Because
You're
I
always
actually
on top of
created
it.
that last week when I found the case I'm covering this week. And if you were on my live today when I was had 15 minutes to get ready before Morgan was heading to my house, well, you know that this case I've got for you today is whack.
I'm excited. I also have I'm not excited. It's always tragic.
Yeah,
I am excited.
Every bit of it's always tragic.
But I also have a fucking crazy case for you. So
Good.
I'm excited for that.
Good, I'm excited for what we got planned today. But let's talk about it. The TikTok ban.
Yeah, guys.
Let's talk about that.
Let's just talk about our Saturday.
Oh, Jesus. Let's talk about it in detail, please.
First off,
I've been dying to debrief this, and me and Morgan haven't really.
first things first, we have a little girls movie night planned, and we went and saw Baby Girl.
Baby girl. Because Nikki just moved back to Knoxville. So she got in on Wednesday, got moved in by Friday, and Saturday we were like, let's go see Baby Girl.
If anyone hasn't seen it, stop what you're doing this weekend and go to the fucking theater.
Do not go with a parent or someone that's not a fun friend or like a partner that you're very, very, very comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because it is
Crazy.
It's like the wackest shit I've ever seen.
Like, first things first, it was
And
just,
not shaming like the people that enjoy that type.
it was just like,
Of
there were
sex.
so many like awkward scenes, but like
We were
the actors
cackling.
made it awkward. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like they were purposely doing that. It wasn't
Yeah.
that we thought it was awkward.
It was written in.
But we were cackling. Like, I think people in the theater were like, why are these girls laughing? But also anytime we laughed, they laughed.
Yeah, we definitely were we set the tone.
No, we made the movie fun for everyone.
did.
I'm sorry. I know that sounds so crazy.
No, but we did. Like, they liked us. No one was mad at us. Like,
Yeah.
the girls that were behind us and in front of us were like turning around or like leaning forward and like, oh my God, yeah. Like, yeah, oh my God. Like, they were cackling with us. But like, and by the way, there was only like 4 groups of people in there.
Yeah.
The one closest to the front, the people that we couldn't tell if they were vibing with us was an old couple.
Uh-huh.
And I was
Like
just,
my dad.
Yeah, literally. And he held the door for us when we left.
Wait, and also we're like, let's do, first off, I'm like, no, I'm not eating. I already ate.
Oh
McKenna's
my
like,
God.
I already ate. Taylor and I got into a little tiff over that. Just a little quick tiff in the text. And we were like, we got there and Taylor's like, McKenna and I want to know if everyone wants to buy one candy and then make like, my name's Morgan and I brought
Candy
Nerd
salad?
Cluster gummies.
Yeah.
Candy salad. So we got a little extra bowl. So we're in there before the theater and it's like, we're just, ripping open all these
Shit.
bags, dumping it in. And all of a sudden you hear, like,
Swear.
just great. And we're like,
Guess
we're
it's starting.
trying to be quiet.
And I was literally in the middle of opening the cookie dough bites that we got because we also got a big bowl of popcorn. So good. And I accidentally dropped one in.
I found it later on, like an hour later. I'm like, why does my hand have chocolate on it? I'm in a popcorn bowl.
I see them down there being like, ew. And like looking and I couldn't tell them because I was like on the other side from Morgan. So I couldn't be like, it was me. I dropped it in
I
there.
was like, and McKenna's like, I hope that's not nuts. And then in my mouth, I'm like, that was peanut butter. Where's the Effie?
It was not peanut butter. You guys are crazy. But anyways, so we're literally like making these candy salads. I'm in the middle of opening up the cookie dough bites that we got, and it's like
Crazy.
it was whack.
It was crazy. Honestly, we were we had a great
dance.
time.
If you guys know what we're talking about with the George Michael song, the dancing scene, literally I couldn't contain the laughter that I had for that.
That was crazy.
So funny. Then we leave and also we saw this movie at 6:40. That's when it started. Well, right before, like say 3 hours before we went, that big notice went out saying that
8:30.
TikTok was going to be shutting down at 8:30 p.m.
Eastern time.
Eastern time. We're shitting our pants, and I'm shitting my pants because me and Morgan are talking about how like, oh my God, we had plans to scroll until midnight.
Like, do we cancel the fucking
Like,
movie?
we were gonna cancel going to
I'm
the movies
sorry, but
over
I need
TikTok.
I need to sit here and scroll.
Like,
what
I
do you
have to
mean?
have one last good bedtime
What do you
scroll.
mean?
Like, what are we talking about? So we're like freaking out. And I, like, when that happened, I was like, fuck it. I'm doing whatever I want to on this page. I never, ever, ever do anything outside of my content. Like, I used to back in the day, but it just never did good. And people would just get
What
mad.
is that noise?
The air.
That's not like.
My stomach's growling.
No, I don't know what that was.
That's crazy. Don't even talk about that. I don't even want to hear that.
Okay, it just like stopped whenever we both stopped. Okay,
Maybe it was just like, you know how like when in white noise you can hear things. Maybe my voice is white noise to you now.
No, I don't think so.
I wouldn't say that. But anyways, so what were we saying? Oh, okay. So we're like stressed out. Like, should we fucking cancel going to this movie? Because like we need to have one last go. So I'm posting whatever the hell I want to. I'm posting me laying down, like not even talking about cases, like just doing crazy shit on there. Because I was like, if this is my last time, I did like a heartfelt thing about, you know, my story. I'm embarrassed about it, but like I'm not, because like I really do have those feelings about TikTok. Like TikTok created this. Like we wouldn't have half of you guys had it not been from TikTok, like truly. So it was just like really emotional because we're sitting here. That was a thing.
That was not it.
Yeah, that was a fire truck. But I thought it was that for a second.
Not what I heard, but that was
yeah. So we're in the middle of the movie. It's 8:30 while we're in the movie. So we're all like, the second that it was like 8:29, we're like, we put up our phones. We're like, it's 8:29. We all get on TikTok. We see it's still there. So like, all right, we're good.
We're good.
We go outside, go down the slide that's in the middle of the movie theater. Outside of the movie theater, we turned it into a club. And
like we were like the people that like, you know, when an event's ended, and,
loiter.
Like, everyone needs to disperse, but like they have to stand around and just like do nothing.
Yeah.
That was us. We just stood around.
We were like, we have nothing to live for right now. Like,
what are we gonna do?
By this time, TikTok was already glitching. Mm-hmm. It was going out. And so we were like, oh God. So we just sat there and like debriefed the movie, because you have to debrief after that movie. Don't make plans immediately after, unless you're going to eat with the friends that you saw it with, because you're gonna have to debrief that shit. So we debrief out there and we're dancing around. I post like another stupid TikTok. We have the funniest video of Nikki going down the slide. Get in the car, we're going home, and we're the entire time we're updating each other on like what's going on with TikTok, because I wasn't driving, so I was on TikTok and I was scrolling through and I was like seeing the glitches. People were like texting us being like, are you seeing this? The Patreon group chat was going crazy. And then
I was fired up.
Morgan was crazy in the group
fired
chat.
Up.
And then we get home.
We were like, we're gonna shower, get in our PJs,
bed.
Get in our bed.
I got in the bed and it went away.
I got like 10 minutes.
I had like maybe
First
5.
it was the comments.
Yeah.
And then it was 0 likes for everything. Yep. And then it was like slowly like going out, and I'm like, it's happening. Then McKenna, I think it happened to McKenna first.
Yeah, McKenna was the first one that had, or Nikki was the first one that had it. McKenna was the last one that went down.
Yeah.
But it closed down on us, and it was like, wow. I have to be honest, like in that moment, it was me being like, this is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, the
fact that they were able to do that.
Bigger picture, like such a fucking like fuck you to the American people. I'm sorry.
It's
about
an entire
censorship.
industry.
It's about like, where's the freedom of speech? Where are our rights? Like, I don't want to get into that, but like truly, like that's the bigger picture where I was. I was sick to my fucking stomach.
Sick to my stomach. And the subtle messaging with all this shit was just weird. Like, it was creepy. It did not sit right. Just for it to come back. Like, first off, you couldn't even give us 24 hours.
Y'all did a fucking update. I'm sorry.
No, I know they did, because I'm not even going to get into it on here, but like I might talk about it on Patreon. I haven't even showed it to you yet. I took screenshots. There's a lot of things that have changed.
It was a fucking update.
But like, you couldn't have made it be 24 hours after that shit. Like, I did buy a book.
That's kind of embarrassing.
I bought Fourth
for
Wing.
you. Like that's embarrassing. You guys can't even hold your word for 2
you
hours. That's like your parents being like, you are grounded for 2 days, and then 10 hours in, they're like, okay, fine, you can go to the movie.
You can have your phone, whatever. Like yeah, exactly. So that's just kind of like what it felt like. But anyways, when it come back, it was weird. Everyone knew it was weird, but I immediately went home. Like I was like, me and Nikki were out and about just doing shit. It come up, and we had like plans to go do a few more things. We're like, we gotta go home. Like we need to go home, and we have to investigate this, because what the hell?
Yeah.
And also, guys, we were getting text messages from like very sweet people being like, hey, thinking about you, which made it so much worse.
We love them
internally, because it loved them so much and it was so sweet, but it made me like realize like, oh my God, we have lost everything.
Everyone knows it too.
Because truly, like that TikTok is our biggest platform and our biggest reach that we have. It's our biggest marketing tool, and like it is the thing that we can get to translate very well over to the podcast.
We've had fucking like $1 billion CEOs of networks ask us, how do you do it?
Literally. And we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. We got that magic in us, I guess. But yeah, anyways, that was just crazy. And I wish they would have kept it away for 24 hours. Selfishly, I wish that, because the craziness that went down ahead of it, people burnt down their platforms.
Yeah.
People literally let go of shit, like secrets that they should have gone to the grave with. Thank God
put behind a
Michaela,
paywall.
makeup girl, didn't come out, didn't do her little
I thought for
release.
sure we get some Alex and Xandra tea. We
Yeah,
didn't.
well, did you see what Alex Earl said? She said on her first TikTok back, she was like, thank God
I did see
because
that.
I had it in my drafts ready to go and I didn't do it. By the way, all the motherfuckers, international motherfuckers that are over there talking shit,
No, I'm sorry. That's funny.
and we got absolutely, like, imagine getting caught talking mad shit by
We're
the most
back. And then they're like,
unhinged-
we're so loud. We're
Literally,
so loud.
Literally. They're like, it was so quiet. It was so
Like,
quiet.
it's the kids that get taken out of class, like the
Literally.
loud kids, and like you finally just get to be your normal
You're
self.
like, oh, thank God. We can eat our beans and fucking toast.
And then I mean, they really were talking shit, and
it was so funny. I loved watching all the videos of everyone talking shit about us.
yeah, I did enjoy that too.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
was fun.
well, you know, they make a good point, but also like we're fucking fun, and your pages were probably boring.
But
Not-
I was
not
getting,
to
like-
be those Americans.
Yeah, sorry. You probably were fucking boring.
But whenever
I don't see your government taking away your rights.
Listen, I disagree with a lot of shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I disagree with a lot of shit, and I know that the American people think that they're like top dog, better than everyone. But here's the thing: whenever you want to talk shit about my nation,
Bitch.
I am you.
My pronouns are USA. Literally.
Like that's where I am. Like hot
That's
scream.
dead ass what happens. And
Like, how dare they?
I don't even give a shit.
We wouldn't do it to
If
them.
it comes to the Olympics, period,
Sorry.
I'm Miss Patriot, okay? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going crazy. But it also sucked because, like, we didn't even have a leg to stand on with
Yeah,
half of the shit that's been going on in the last 2 days.
Right.
Like,
And also like don't
Yeah.
talk. Here's the other thing: like don't talk shit because we're the ones fucking living it. We know what's going
yeah,
on. That's how
you
I
don't
also
think we're
feel.
aware.
I'm like, we know, and we're fucking living it.
and we're the
getting
only
beat
ones allowed to
fuck
joke
down.
about it, okay?
Yeah.
Like, don't even joke about it. Like,
Yeah.
you can't say that.
Yeah, you're not part of the club.
Literally. Or, like, people.
You're not living this hell.
You're not literally here right now. And like, I don't know. It's just been a crazy.
You can't say with us.
It's just been really crazy.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
and let's get creepy.
Okay. Morgie, what do you got for us today?
So today I kind of have a true crime case for you.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I have a little bit of a conspiracy for you.
So that worked out perfectly. We
It
read each
did.
other's minds. And this case is filled with witchcraft and letters to the devil written in blood
Oh,
and
God.
some major totally fucked up like courtroom drama.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
So
That's my favorite
I was
shit.
like, I'm going to cover this.
I love a good courtroom
So let's
drama.
get into it. This is the case of William Dove and Henry the Wizard Harrison.
Oh, the wizard.
The Wizard.
Hey, also,
the Wizard and I.
before you get into this, I need to tell you that this is the second time we've been on the same wavelength today, because when I was on my live, we were talking about how cold it is. And I said, I don't even know how cold it is outside, but it's really, really cold, like near my doors. I had to put my blankets underneath the doors to keep the cold air from coming out. I said, oh, I wish I could get off of here and see what the temperature is outside. And as
It's negative 70 degrees.
you texted me that as that came out of my mouth, and I said, literally, look at this invisible umbilical cord that me and Morgan have to each other, just working overtime right now. Like, I wish she would text me next how really cold it is, and you didn't, but it was good enough. I said,
negative
but for
70.
her to say it's this cold, my little northern girl to say it's
It was
this cold,
fucking cold.
It's getting cold.
It's the wind. It's so windy out. I
wind.
was walking my car. I'm like, it's negative 70 degrees.
Going crazy. Okay, so
Okay.
we've been on the same wavelength twice today.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Okay, so Henry Harrison was born in 1816 in England to a family of dyers, which I'm assuming is the surname of the family.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why his last name would be Harrison, but everything I looked up what dyers meant was just a surname. So I would
Maybe
think
it's like the mother's surname, and she had like a more
generational. Yeah, maybe.
prominent
In
surname.
1833, he met and married a woman named Jane Breshaw. Cool. And the two of them ended up having 2 children. Now, it wasn't before long when their lives were flipped upside down. Henry loses his job. The family had no source of income and they become displaced. After living for a couple years in extreme poverty and relying solely on the church, the parish, Jane took her and her kids to move in with her father. And it's assumed that Henry at this time kind of ditched the fam. Like, thought that there was just more out there for him, I guess.
That's crazy.
So like, yeah, I'll just stay on the streets. You can go live with your dad. And I guess this life that he was looking forward to was this big life of crime.
oh, good.
Henry was on the street for about 10 years with no source of home, running the streets, playing his new criminal role. Big into theft and robbery until 1844 when he set down some roots in Moor End, and he met this woman named Elizabeth Brown, who was actually a landlady. So she owned some properties.
Oh, perfect.
We can assume that this relationship started strictly to put just a roof over his head because this guy's like a pretty big piece of shit, not gonna lie. So that's how I'm taking it.
He's trying to fuck just so he could get a
he's like,
roof over his head.
You own property, baby, here I am.
Right.
The two never married, but he lived with Elizabeth and her children for quite some time, kind of moving wherever they moved, because I'm assuming she owned multiple properties, and so they were just kind of like jumping around like where they didn't have tenants. And I say they never married, but Elizabeth would introduce herself sometimes as not Elizabeth Brown, but Elizabeth Harrison, Henry's last name, and would tell people that they were married, and this will come back later into play. Eventually, they settled for a bit at 5 North Road in South Market, where Elizabeth and her son set up a little grocery store. And this is when Henry would take up a new career path as a wizard.
Oh, God.
You're a wizard, Henry.
You're a wizard, Henry.
Where he sold herbs. Oh, wait, this is also another thing I saw on TikTok. They're like, I'm so tired of Americans calling it herbs and not herbs.
Oh, well, we're tired of you calling it herbs.
I'm sorry, herbs?
Herb is a name, bitch.
Herbs is crazy.
Yeah, Herbert.
Herb. Yeah,
Herbert.
no, and I thought like herb is crazy. I'm
also,
sorry, it's
Z
herb.
being Z.
Z being Z.
X, Y, and Z.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I've picked up from listening to the girls' bathroom. They don't say Z.
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 That's interesting.
That we must be. Are we the only ones that say Z?
Zebra. Zebra.
That's how they say it. So that makes sense. And they call H. Wait. A B C D E F G H I. Wait. H I J K.
Ooh, I hate that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Oh, I hate them. Just kidding.
Hate that. Okay, so he sold herbs and drugs out of his girlfriend's grocery shop, like drugs as in like herb medicinals that he would call drugs.
Weed.
Yes. And this very quickly escalated to selling no longer herbs and drugs, but spells and charms.
Oh, God.
And he had one specialty, this little wizard, and that was locating stolen goods. And he was spot on almost every time. People would come to him. They had just been robbed, and locating stolen goods back then was so important to the sellers because, well, fuck, if you couldn't afford to lose one single apple from your stand.
Right.
Like that was make or break, like dinner for your family that night. So these people were desperate in locating what was stolen from them, and Henry would point them in the right direction, and these goods would be right where he guessed they were.
Whoa.
He had a gift.
He did.
But then people started getting suspicious, especially when they would come to him. They'd be chatting. They're like, I'm looking for, my stolen parsley and basil. And Henry would be like, I do know where that is. And they would see right beyond Henry at the corner of his lot. Is that parsley and basil? Like these people started picking up that like the stolen goods they were going to inquire about were located at his booth.
Literally there.
They were literally at his booth. And then he would go and place them where he's like, I think it's on the corner of 4th and 5th. And he would go and place them there, and then the goods would be there.
He didn't have the like foresight to place it there before?
No.
He just had them
Sometimes
under the
it was
table.
Maybe he was doing it so much and it was just like catching up.
It was happening. Yeah.
I mean, he was fucking the landlady. Like he had priorities.
He did.
Ben.
He's got many
and
things
a couple
he's
more
do.
priorities. Selling spells.
Yeah,
and
we got to get these
charms.
cells worked out.
And so anyway, fucking ripping everyone off. But he was so good at being a wizard around the town. But he was legit just stealing from people and then having the people pay him for him to tell them where he put the goods that he stole.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of genius.
Yeah, smart.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd make some cash back then. And by the 1850s, Henry fully advanced in his career, having business cards that gave him the title, quote, astrological doctor and dentist.
Oh, we're
Dentist.
dentistry. What are you talking? Wait, I'm sorry,
You're
sir.
a Pisces, you need a root canal on 7. Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean, sir?
I don't
know.
know.
Oh my God, I have a dentist appointment tomorrow at 9:50.
Oh, that's terrible. You should cancel that.
Oh no.
And he recorded his career via the census as doctor and watercaster. Do you know what a watercaster is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he operated out of the rooms above his girlfriend's shop, which is located on North Row. And a watercaster is a very interesting career choice by Henry. It was really popular in like the 1700s, but with the scientific advancements in the Victorian period, which like the 1850s and on, it wasn't really done anymore. So what it is basically today's like urinalysis, except without the tools to look down and test at the cellular level. It was just a diagnosis based on the appearance of urine, its smell, color, consistency, maybe taste. I don't know how
I
twisted
thought he
they
was
were.
a dentist.
Well,
What's
he also
he
is a
playing with piss
watercaster.
for?
This is what he wrote on the census. So his business card said dentist, but in the census, I'm a watercaster.
That's a wild thing.
Yeah, like couldn't be me.
Why would you be like, I'm
a urine doctor.
What sounds better than a dentist on a census?
Watercaster.
Watercaster. I'm playing with people's piss all day.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I don't know if that included taste. But
I'm not talking shit about real like
urinalysis.
Those people. Like, actually, you saved my life with my kidneys. But I'm just saying that back then, when he literally had no reason to be playing with people's pee, that's kind of crazy.
He wasn't a doctor. He had no education. Like,
he's a witch or a wizard.
School.
Yeah,
elementary. You know. So anyway, now at the time, these urine tests, they weren't really used as medical diagnoses. It used to be before, but it kind of fell out with the popularity of advancements. Instead, and specifically for Henry's case, the water casting was used for determining the sex of an unborn child by looking at the mother's urine, person's life expectancy, and determining if someone had fallen victim to witchcraft.
Oh, so wait, you actually talked about this when we did our episode with Twisted Uncorked, because you were talking about the original pregnancy test where you would pour it on
grain or barley or something.
And it would tell you if like it was a boy or a girl or something.
Well, Henry took it beyond and was like, you are under the spell of witchcraft and I need to sell you a charm to heal you.
Great.
Either way, this is what Henry was doing when he met a local farmer named William Dove. But before we get into this, let's learn about Mr. William Dove. He had a very alarming childhood. He was a very disturbed kid. He would chase his sister around with a hot poker. Ooh. He lit his bedroom curtains on fire.
Crazy.
And he would trigger warning for animal abuse, torture cats and kittens.
Great guy to link up with.
Yeah. Apparently, he also took a gun to school. And I don't know about gun laws then, but even in the 1800s in the UK, they were better than 2025 America because he was kicked out and was not allowed back in.
Amen. And that's how you handle that.
Then that's how you handle that.
And you should go charge his parents as well.
Yeah. He threatened to kill his father, and his entire childhood was basically just violence and threats to every family member or friend of William. A couple months prior to meeting the wizard, William had attempted suicide. And this was an arrestable offense then. So he was arrested and he was jailed. At this point in his life, he lived on a farm with his wife, Harriet Dove. And in 1854, William approached Henry with a couple of concerns, mostly wanting, he had questions about how he could maintain his farm successfully and his marriage, as that's kind of all that he had, his wife and his farm. And Henry was like, yeah, man, pee in this cup. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, man, let me come out to scope out the farm and let's get some answers to your burning questions. So Henry visits his farm in November of 1854, and he performs a protection ritual to preserve the farm and keep it in William's name. Like, I think it never said he was struggling financially, but I'm assuming that William, for him to go and reach out
and
be
like, hey, how do I keep this
in my name? Like, how do I continue to own this farm? So he places this protection ritual over the farm. And this protection ritual involved hiding 4 copper pieces. Each had hieroglyphic inscriptions on them. Oh. He placed all 4 of these around the doorways and entrances. And then he placed a 5th one hidden in the home, and not even William knew where Henry placed it.
Okay.
On top of these protections, he gave him a written charm that he would recite around the farm to hopefully make it more prosperous. So he would like walk around and say this, recant this charm or this spell around the farm, and hopefully it would grow extra barley that year. And to answer this question about his marriage, he told him that, your marriage would be longer and would be happier if you two were to have children. So this relationship between William and Henry went on from 1854 to 1856. And they definitely had some rough points over the course of those years, but William managed to keep his faith in Henry and was like, I trust this guy. I'm giving him all my money. Like, he's going to save me and my family, my marriage.
Yeah, too bad William doesn't know about his first wife and kids.
Yeah. He was making predictions that were accurately coming true, especially one that was a new prediction. So no longer like your marriage with Harriet will prosper if you have children. This is a new prediction that you, William, will be happier if your marriage would end by Harriet dying, and William, you would become a widow. So that's part of the prophet. You will become a widow, and then you will find your true love and remarry a girl with, quote, auburn hair. And his exact words were, quote, remarry a woman who will have auburn hair, light complexion, and a good fortune. If you have married a person of this description at first, you would have done well. So you fucked up.
Oh my God.
You didn't marry this first. Right. So that's why you're failing. So you have to, if you want to succeed in life.
She's got to die.
She's got to die, and you have to marry this woman. Harriet also was really not about her husband and the wizard at all over the course of 2 years.
I know she wasn't.
She's like, get this fucking guy out of here. Like,
Well,
I'm tired
yeah.
of you chanting spells around, and
I'm tired of you killing cats.
me finding coins and
doing weird
you being
shit.
crazy.
Yeah.
This man was literally coming around casting spells and telling her husband that she's gonna die so that he can marry his one true love.
Yeah, I'd be like, get this guy the fuck out of here.
And Harriet was especially pissed off when the new neighbor moved in next door.
No, did she have auburn hair?
The woman with light complexion and auburn hair.
Damn it.
That was enough to put any wife on edge, especially when this magical town wizard is telling your husband that the girl next door is the one. She is for him. But if you get her, your wife must die.
And she's sitting there thinking, sir, my husband got kicked out of school for bringing a gun.
Right.
And
you're going to tell him that?
And you're going to say that this is what's going to... I'll leave. I'll gladly get the hell
burn
out.
the curtains in his bedroom.
Literally.
And chase his
He's a
sisters around with
pyromaniac.
a branding, hot brand.
a hot poker.
Like, crazy. Yeah.
I'll happily just walk out of here.
Yeah. So Harriet was over it. She was over the wizard. She was over their little relationship they had. But it seems that William really wasn't over it. He was like fully fucking QAnon into this shit.
No.
Like, he was deep in. And matter of fact, he was just over Harriet. He was over her.
Oh, no.
During January and February of 1856, William started a new obsession. And that was with this general practitioner named William Palmer. Now, he wasn't obsessed because this doctor was like some miracle worker or was in scientific journals or any reason that you might think.
Right.
He was obsessed because Dr. William Palmer was being investigated for the murder of a friend by using strychnine.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, don't be like, oh my God, I use Wikipedia. I don't, they're going to give me the right answer for strychnine, okay?
That makes fucking sense. Calm down.
Strychnine is a highly toxic, colorless, bitter, crystalline alkaloid that is used as a pesticide, particularly for killing small vertebrates such as birds and rodents. But when inhaled by humans or any living being, swallowed or absorbed through the eyes or mouth, it causes poisoning, which results in muscular convulsions and eventually death through asphyxia.
Oh, God.
While it is no longer used medicinally, it was used back then, their era, in small doses to strengthen muscle contractions, such as heart or bowel stimulant, as well as performance enhancing drug. So it's a pesticide that they basically
They were doing crazy medical shit back then.
yeah. I mean,
How anyone survived that is crazy.
like what? Also though, like performance enhancing drug. Like, what was the big? Like, were you in the NFL? Like, that wasn't a thing.
But
then.
low key, you
like,
know,
what was good about being good at a sport then? What did you get?
I don't
out
even
of
think it was about the sport. I think it was more like he can lift this hay bale above
That's
his head.
true.
Yeah, he can lift that
the
hay
strongest
bale.
man in the South Market.
Literally. But you know, it makes me wonder, like, what in 100 years from now are they gonna look back about like our first off, it's definitely gonna be Adderall. They're like, they were giving them bitches speed. Yeah. That's definitely gonna be one of them.
I could see like Excedrin being like crazy.
But like, think about
And,
something
like,
they use every day. And,
NyQuil.
like no. Think like surgery wise, like because they were using this shit for like also surgery.
Anesthesia.
Yeah, like the way that well they did that back in the day with like crazy shit. But like, I wonder if they're gonna be able to figure out like something better.
Yeah,
No,
probably.
they definitely 100% are. It's not wonder. They are going to.
Yeah, but
And
what is
if
the drug
not, then the
now?
world has ended because
Yeah,
then
we're
there's
done.
no progression.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And that's crazy. This is not the best that the human race will ever be. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I hope
Well, we better not. I won't have kids if that's the case. Someone tell me the future.
someone let us know. Now, today we know that Dr. Palmer was in fact guilty of killing his friend with the poisoning of strychnine. But at the
100%.
time, William did not know. It was only speculation. Like, he was just arrested and it was like kind of in the press, the media. Regardless, he was infatuated with this story, with this doctor. And it was actually all because of Henry the Wizard,
Yep.
who pointed him in that direction. Henry started telling him about this plant-based poison that could protect your farm from these wild creatures, and they could also rid you of anything you may not want.
Oh my God, Henry.
AKA
Subtle,
Harriet.
the subtleness of it. Like, just say it.
Just say
Just
it.
say
Use
it
it to
then.
kill your wife. This intrigued William, and he asked if he could get it for him. And Henry's like, yeah, I can get that. You know, I really can. but I'm not gonna do it for you.
Okay.
I can, but I wouldn't.
I thought you were a Dr. Dentist.
I thought you were the
You're-
literal astrological dentist.
That's crazy. That your business card says that you should probably be able to 100% get
he's
this
like,
reading.
it's just too dangerous. Like, bro, you gave him the idea.
Yeah, what are you talking
What do
about?
you mean? And this is according to his little testimony here. So one day, William goes to his pharmacist while picking up his wife Harriet's medicine and starts talking to them about what they might know about strychnine. The pharmacist is like, actually, I know a lot about it. Matter of fact, I've used it before around the house, and it's like helped me with my farm. I can definitely give you some, and I can give you an entire playbook of scientific journals on how to break it down to be lethal to animals. Do you want that?
Yeah.
William, do you want this book that
Hey,
tells you a step-by-step guide?
William, even though everyone in this town knows your history, do you think that you would?
Do you want
Do you
this?
need this?
Do you think you could use this?
I think this would. You're a farmer. I'm a farmer.
you're a farmer. It's for the rats.
Right,
It's just for the rats.
Right.
And William's like, perfect, cool. So he purchases 15 grains of strychnine from the pharmacist over the course of a few weeks.
Grains?
Strychnine?
Grains of it?
Grains, yeah.
What's that
It's
mean?
a plant.
Oh,
it's like
okay,
a plant,
yes.
But like it's derived from a plant.
Got you.
To form into a pesticide.
I got you.
So that's what the book was telling him how to do that, how to derive it.
At first I was
Sure,
like,
you like boil it, drain it, smash it,
yeah,
whatever.
you do whatever. Like cook it down.
Yeah, so William's like, cool. And again, let's not forget, William was a very sick kid. He was disturbed. So trigger warning again here for animal abuse. He used the first 3 grains to poison and kill a barn cat and a mouse, but he quickly escalated. Desperate to save his farm, and according to the wizard, the prophecy was that he had to be a widow and he had to remarry the auburn hair girl. So on February 23rd, 1856 until February 29th, he began to poison his wife, Harriet Duff.
No.
Ultimately figuring out every day, it was like just another test. Like, how much can I, how much will it take to kill her, which he did on the evening of February 29, 1856. William was almost immediately arrested because the police were like, your wife is dead.
This looks like strychnine, whatever that is.
This looks like a poison.
We have a pharmacist who says that she just sold you 15 grains.
We know you're crazy.
Yeah, and if we know anything about you, it's that you honestly shouldn't be owning a farm.
Yeah.
Or married.
And we see the dead cat as well
Yeah.
with the poisoning.
Yeah.
Pesticide poisoning. So he's immediately arrested for the murder of his wife. While waiting for his trial to start, William Dove wrote a letter in his own blood from his cell.
Oh my God.
And it was a letter to the devil. I claim no negative energy from this, and our listeners claim no negative energy from this. We are not writing a letter to the devil. Okay, we're not writing a letter to you.
White light, pink
It says,
love.
Dear DEVIL, if you will get me clear at the assizes, which is like the court, and let me have the enjoyment of life, health, wealth, tobacco, beer, more food, and better, my wishes granted, and live till I am 60. Come to me and tell me, I remain your faithful subject.
No.
William Dove.
No. William, what are you doing?
Also, like, your priority here is beer.
No, I need
And
you to go
tobacco.
through that list. Can I have the priority list?
Life, health, wealth, tobacco, beer, and more food, and better, my wishes granted.
You know what? If I was making a priorities list,
That might be it.
be mine.
Yeah, honestly, a nice car, nice house. I'll throw that in there. Private
Iced coffee every day.
an unlimited Dunkin' Donuts gift card.
I swear. And then what's another thing I would do? That my mascara tube never goes dry, and that my Botox is always working.
And my lips are always plump.
Mwah. Exactly.
Oh, shit. So William pled a defense during court of insanity at York Assizes, which is the court there. And guess who was a key testimony for the prosecution?
Let me guess.
The
Henry.
wizard, Henry.
The wizard.
He's like, yeah, I mean, this guy is crazy. He did it.
He did it.
100%. And when William's insanity plea didn't work, the defense flipped and said, well, actually, it was Harriet. She was a little unstable. She was a little insane, and she poisoned herself.
The defense needs to get a grip.
Yeah, get a grip. They were reaching.
Yeah,
and
they
the
were so
jury
reaching.
was like, no.
No, we all knew Harriet.
Yeah, we all knew him.
She was
I went
over these two.
Matter of fact, he was the only kid that ever brought a gun to school in the
Right.
1800s. So I know this guy, and he definitely did it.
100%.
So the jury finds him guilty and sentenced him to death via public execution.
Okay.
So
Crazy again.
William was hanged at York Castle on August 9th, 1856, in front of a crowd estimated to be between 10,000 and 15,000
These people were chronically bored. They
Yeah.
were fucking chronically bored that they were going to watch
like, imagine,
public.
like it was like you go to church on Sunday and then
Right.
you go to the courtyard for the execution.
They were literally us in that 10-hour period
Like,
that TikTok was down. Like there was nothing.
What do we do? Go to
what did we do?
execution?
Like that's literally like what these people were like. But that was their day every day. They had nothing better to live for. The papers that came out in the morning and the evening, a radio show. Did they even have radio?
All
then?
they had to live for was tobacco, wealth, more food, and beer.
And that was, and all my wishes be granted.
And all my wishes be granted.
Amen.
The light complexion, auburn hair. That's his wish.
He didn't even get his girl. Like he did. Did he even
She's like, I'm married.
Did he even fill her out before to like
no.
see what's going on? Like
No.
before he even
He
went
was just
forward with
like,
this plan? This is
the
the order of
wizard said
events.
auburn hair. The new neighbor has auburn hair. It's
Idiot.
gotta be her.
Idiot.
So William is publicly executed, and Henry, the wizard Harrison, becomes known in the press as Dove's evil genius. The press is eating this story
Yeah,
out.
I
They're
know
like,
they are.
he's behind that.
The tabloids.
They're like, this guy he's the town
Everyone
wizard.
knew it.
Like, he's evil. Like, he needs
we
to be
saw him
stopped.
hiding our parsley.
He literally had our
Hidling-
barley, parsley, and and
behind
oregano
him.
behind him.
And we saw it before he placed it on 4th and 5th Street.
Yeah, exactly. And the public was calling for someone to do something. This was also escalating like the witchcraft issue. So they were like, someone needs to do something about this witchcraft, the manipulation that Henry Harrison did, and then blaming the death of Henrietta Dove on her husband when he was the mastermind behind the entire thing.
Because clearly this guy was mentally ill. Like they literally had just arrested him for attempting suicide before. Like this guy is not
unstable, and
it can be
the wizard
very
took advantage
easily
of that.
exactly
Like,
can-
he's evil.
just like how he would go and he would steal people's shit. They'd be in need to go find their shit because you gotta have money, you know.
And he was just feeding this guy. Like this guy was paying him for years and years and
Exactly.
years. So instead of keeping quiet, so like I said, the tabloids are going crazy, and instead of keeping a low profile,
He can't.
Henry the wizard does the exact opposite.
Of course.
Any publicity in his eyes is good publicity.
yeah.
So he releases a public statement in the Leeds Mercury on August 18th, 1856. And basically it's like self-righteous statement of like, I am the wizard. I had nothing to do with that. Come and see me. And it literally brought him more business.
Of course it did.
It brought
These
him
people
more
were
fucking
chronically
business.
bored.
It also brought a young woman who was searching for love named Eliza Crofts. And she would actually be Henry's demise. Henry provided charms and predictions and spells for Eliza to meet her one true love, but suggested that in order for this to work, trigger warning here for sexual assault, she needed to create a deeper connection with the wizard. AKA, she needed to have sex with him for the magic to work in her favor.
That's so crazy. Did you fuck William?
Love. Yeah.
Did you fuck William Dove?
Right.
That's so crazy. I didn't know that it only happens with cute young girls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eliza refused.
Thank God.
Numerous times.
Go, girly.
But trigger warning, Henry didn't take no for an answer, and Eliza was sexually assaulted.
No.
This incident was brought into the courts in 1857, so about 6 months later, which was kind of like normal time range then. And the court wanted to nail him for not only the sexual assault, but for all of the shit.
The fact that they were like, actually like took this to court shows you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know how, I mean, I don't want
if it would have been any other person back in the day,
Exactly.
they wouldn't have said anything about it. I mean, up until right now, yesterday, actually.
They knew the town wizard was fucking evil.
Yeah, they wanted him to be put away.
During his first trial, this is the courtroom drama.
Okay,
The
let's get the
gasp
tea.
heard around the world. During his first trial, the court asked if anyone present would like to come forward and make a formal complaint.
Oh my God.
And up walked this woman who said, "My name is Jane Harrison.
Jane.
And I am the wife of the prisoner. I am a married woman and have been married for 23 years.
Period.
I live in Hunslet. The only complaint I have to make against the prisoner is for neglecting his wife and family.
Oh my God.
I
get
was
him.
married to him on the 3rd of August, 1833.
Ooh, get him, bitch.
The woman he walked out on guys when they were homeless. His first
I was
wife.
literally going to fucking ask you, like, I wonder what the hell she's seen these.
Oh yeah.
She's
like, oh, I'll pull up.
I will be
You
getting
need
my
someone-
check too.
You need someone to step up in the courtroom.
Me.
Hi, my
It's
name
me,
is Jane.
bitch.
This was fucking courtroom drama. And then in a turn of events, even more gas, guys, the judge says to the court, this is his first wife. Mrs. Brown, we shall bring forward hereafter to show that she is his second wife. The court gasp because boom, they just got him on bigamy charges. That is
Right.
illegal. You cannot marry someone
have two wives.
while you are legally married to
Right.
another person. So in walks another woman. Even more gas because it's not Elizabeth Brown that's stepping up as
Shut
his
up.
second wife. And as a refresher, Elizabeth was the landlady he had been living
Yep.
with and her kids while playing wizard. And while I said they were never married, Elizabeth would always call herself Elizabeth Harrison,
Brown. Yeah, Harrison.
and would tell people that they were married. But she's not the woman walking up
Shut the
to the
hell up.
podium. They bring forward Elizabeth's daughter, Sarah Ann, who he had legally married on May 18th, 1846, after he got her pregnant while sleeping with her mother in the same household.
Did her mother know?
I mean, she had to have. They were married. It wasn't fucking it was public information.
Oh my
That's why the court pulled it up.
Oh my God.
And then,
So this is 2 sexual assaults
yeah, because she was
already
a child.
racked up on his shit.
I don't know the age that she was
It
pregnant.
doesn't
or-
matter.
yeah,
Like
but she was a
he
child.
groomed her. That's it.
Absolutely. And then because bigamy just wasn't good enough for Henry the Wizard, the court finds out there's a third wife,
Shut the fuck up.
Maria Steele,
Technically the 4th.
married in October of 1850. The gasp could be heard all around.
Around the
I mean,
world.
the investigators,
Dude, I
We're
know.
like, we're nailing this guy.
Oh, we got him, bitch.
Get the ladies.
Dude,
Where are they?
this is crazy.
Yeah.
See, this is what they were waiting anxiously, nail biting for the door when the newspaper would be delivered that night. This is what the fuck
100%.
they were waiting for, and I get it. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here
I'm
for it.
also in it.
The gasp could be heard all around because let's not forget, this man was in the media. He was known all around town for the past couple of years, especially when he posted his own thing,
Yep.
like self-righteous, hi, I'm the wizard.
Yeah.
You know, the wizard and
Come
I.
see me.
But because bigamy was pretty common, the judge sentenced him to 4 years in prison on top of the 9 months that he had already served from the sexual assault. And it also said in there that like there was a lot of shit going on in the town. And the judge was like, I'm so fucking tired of this guy. Like, didn't really like
Care.
to like sentence him longer.
Well, that's
but like
crazy.
also like a lot of the middle class, upper class, like bigamy was because you couldn't really get
Right.
divorced
Because you can't, yeah, exactly. You couldn't really get divorced. And also the church, is because of the church. And then
Right.
on top of that, it's like, well, if we hold him accountable,
and they couldn't
for
get him
that,
for murder charges.
Right. But
You
they
know?
could get him for conspiracy, but I don't know if they even thought that hard back
Right,
then.
exactly. So he served 4 years in prison, and once Henry
That's
the
it.
Wizard Harrison was released, no one ever heard from him again. But we
Good.
do know that Sarah Ann and Maria remarried other men. So it looks like the wizard didn't get his happily
So wait,
ever
what's Maria's
after.
tea?
I don't know. They just got married in a church in the 50s. We have no idea where he met her. He was living with Elizabeth and her daughter at the time. And this is like also around the era of
Was
like,
it for dowry?
I don't know.
Do they do
I mean,
dowry
surely
then?
not, because he was still robbing afterwards.
Right,
And
exactly.
he was well, according to the census, he had no documented address until he moved in with Elizabeth, since he left his
Yeah, but
original
no
wife.
one really did.
And that was like
Yeah.
an era in between. So
Yeah.
like he got married in between
in that little blip. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, and that is the case of William Dove and the Wizard.
That's crazy. I want to talk about it forever. I don't want it to end.
But I
wanna
mean,
keep
basically,
going.
so a lot of people like make this a lot more sinister of how like he sold his that like the wizard is like the devil himself, and he sold his soul to the. No, I think the wizard was just
kidding me?
a fucking.
I think the devil's a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah. And he was just like, what's it called whenever you like trick people?
Oh.
I'm missing the word. I want to call him a name. Like a fraud. He's just a fucking fraud.
He's like a con man.
yeah, he's a con man.
Yeah, that's what
That's
it
all
is.
I think the wizard
Yeah.
is. He was just like a professional con man.
That's 100% what he was.
And he called-
That's it.
He literally called himself the wizard. Like that's kind of crazy.
That's embarrassing.
Honestly. Like witches knew you don't call yourself a witch.
Right. You know what? What's also crazy is like,
The female would have been burned at the stake.
yeah, like literally they would have been like,
And a male
that was
was like,
witchcraft. Like
4 years.
he's a wizard, not a witch. That's different. Like what's different about it? He was selling spells.
in charms.
Yeah, I'm sure that they were like, no man could ever actually have that much power, so we know for sure that he is just a con man.
Exactly. Yeah, but I do find it interesting. A lot of people were like, he was definitely psychic, because there's a lot of like people that say he accurately was predicting that's why William was with him for so long. But to me, I just think William was a sick individual, and
I think he was taking advantage of
toying him.
William.
Like just how
Yeah.
he would with the people where he
Well-
was stealing around town. He probably was like, I predict you will have this
How
woman
fucking
move in next
hard.
door, and little do we know it's fucking Maria, his ex-wife, moves in next door.
Exactly.
And that's their con.
Yeah,
You know, we don't know.
because people had to be in on this with him. Like
100%.
his wife, or not wife, Miss
Mother-in-law.
Elizabeth. Yeah, I don't fucking whatever. His 2 wives. Like
I don't
those-
think the first one was. I think she was really like,
she was like, I'm over. I fucked up, Dad. I gotta come home.
Yeah.
And you know that was a big deal for her to ask that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, for her to go back tail tucked.
Like, she lived through the parish and like on the streets for years before
with
she had
this
to
man,
go back.
before she was like finally like, I can't do it anymore. She went back with her tail tucked and was like, Dad, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal back then.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God her dad was nice. Because like that could have ended he could have turned her in for being like a spinster or something.
Right. Vagancy, I think
I'm
is what
so
it's
glad
called
she walked back.
when you're homeless.
Yeah.
Or displaced.
Yeah.
I think it's referred to as vagancy, and I think it was a crime.
Okay. Well, that's crazy. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
That was whack. And I have a conspiracy for you, but I'm going to have to check our time on the camera because she's giving us some trouble today. Okay. So like I said, this case I have for you guys today kind of crosses over with conspiracy, but that doesn't mean that we're going to not have a really horrible crime. So let's jump into it just immediately. All right.
Okay.
Let me get comfy, actually. Okay, I'm comfy now. It was March 2nd, 1976, and just 5 miles outside of Columbia, North Carolina, when a lookout tower alerted Forest Ranger Ron Brickhouse of a brush fire that was spreading rather quickly. Ron rushed down a rural logging road to the location of the fire, which was now blazing over a 3-acre forested area. He fought off the fire as best as he could for like 10 minutes before finally giving in and calling for backup. Yeah, he's
one
like,
man team.
Yeah,
That ain't happening.
1 man versus 3 acres.
Yeah.
Like, good God. And after getting the fire out, which kind of seemed to have started for no apparent reason, they did find its source. The source of the fire was a freshly dug shallow ditch with 5 burnt bodies inside of it.
My God.
I told you we were just going to jump right into it. Though they were severely burnt, Ron and the others could tell that these were the bodies of 2 women and 3 young boys. Just off to the side of them, they also were able to locate a 5-gallon gas can, a shovel, a garden fork, like a pitchfork, and some tire tracks. Very quickly, they called in the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation, as this was very much clearly a homicide, and I think this was a national park for there to be a forest ranger, so like it's
Federal land.
Yeah. So
I've been watching FBI a lot, actually, so I know all about that.
oh, good. Glad. Good. I'm glad you didn't learn it from me, who talks about it pretty often, I would say.
FBI is great. You should watch it.
Oh my goodness. So anyways, they call in the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation, and the detectives, along with the medical examiner, learned through both observation and an autopsy that the victims had likely been killed 24 hours prior to being set on fire. 4 out of the 5 of them died from brutal, repeated blows to their heads, and they were all wearing very nice clothes, and the women were wearing like designer clothes.
Oh.
Investigators quickly sent the descriptions of the 5 victims to every single city up and down the East Coast, hoping that law enforcement agencies would be able to match these victims to missing people within their area, while also trying their best to track down the origin of the surviving pieces of evidence that they found at the scenes, but specifically the clothes that was on the victims, tire marks, and that shovel. Within a week, they were able to trace that shovel back to a hardware store in Potomac, Maryland. Though the store clerks and owner at, I think it's called Pooch, P-O-C-H, Pooch.
Oh, I thought you were saying like
Pooch.
Pooch, like Kardashian Pooch.
No, what sounds Pooch hardware store, the owner and the store clerk there, they were not that helpful, as they were pretty much telling investigators, like, people buy our shovels all the time. Like,
Right, like I don't,
yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
we sell probably 10 of 12 a day.
Exactly. But they were like, how about we put up a flyer with the descriptions and the sketches of the victims? And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. So this flyer goes up in this hardware store on March 9th. The very next day, a police officer from Montgomery County, Maryland, saw this flyer just after investigating a home of a local family in Bethesda, Maryland, which is just outside of DC. And the reason that they were investigating this home is because neighbors in the family's close-knit community, like neighborhood, had called the police for a welfare check because they had not seen the family in an entire week. Well, while searching the outside of the home, investigators found what looked to be blood on the front porch of the home, which prompted them to enter the residence as no one was coming to the door and they had cause for concern. And inside, they found blood on the floor and the walls of both the front hallway and some bedrooms upstairs. However, they did not see any signs of forced entry, a struggle, or signs of a robbery. They interviewed the neighbors, but no one could recall hearing or seeing seen anything out of the ordinary in the days prior, other than the fact that the family just wasn't there, which they typically were because they had kids and the kids were always running around outside being crazy. And like I said, they were like pretty close-knit community. No one knew of any plans that this family might have had to leave town. So on a hunch, the officer, as he was just going through the hardware store, grabbed that flyer and showed it to a young woman that had often babysat for the family of the house that he had just investigated. And the second that her eyes landed on that page, she cried out, "That's the Bishop family." So who are the Bishops? William Bradford Bishop Jr., who goes by his middle name Bradford, was born in Pasadena, California on August 1st, 1936, to Lobelia Amaryllis St. Germain and William Bradford Bishop Sr. In high school, Bradford was a very successful football player and an excellent student. He was incredibly intelligent, and after graduating from South Pasadena High School, he attended Yale University as a student athlete. He was the literal quarterback of the Yale football team, where he received a Bachelor's of Science degree, and he also later would attend Middlebury College in Vermont, where he obtained a Master's of Arts degree. However, it is like reported on this differently. Some people say his Yale degree is actually in American Studies and his master's was in Italian. Not sure why there's drama over this or why it matters, but I thought I would tell you either way. He also holds a master's degree in African Studies from UCLA, but I believe both of those master's degree were actually later in life because after graduating from Yale in 1959, Bradford married his high school sweetheart, Annette Weiss, who had actually just graduated from Berkeley herself. And then Bradford joined the U.S. Army, where he spent 4 years working in counterintelligence, not only because of how incredibly smart he was, but because he actually spoke 5 languages fluently.
Wow.
English, French, Italian, Serbo-Croatian, and Spanish.
That's so impressive.
Damn.
How?
Like, how does your brain work like that? That's
Right.
crazy. During his time with the Army, Bradford showed an astonishing talent to be able to pick up and proficiently speak and understand new languages, leading them to task him with intercepting military transmissions coming from Yugoslavia. But to this day, details of his work as an intelligence officer are being kept very vague and classified close to chest, causing many to theorize that he actually could have been a spy during this time for how weird they are about talking about what he did. Mainly because of one of the many questionable things that he did in his life or career, such as vacationing to Yugoslavia for over 2 weeks just after his assignment ended in 1965.
He's a spy.
Yeah.
Got it.
For which he was reprimanded for doing, but again, we don't know the extent that he was reprimanded because it's close to chest. But weirdly enough, though, even after this bold stunt that he quote unquote got in trouble for, that same year he was promoted to be a diplomat, joining the U.S. State Department and serving as a foreign service officer in many postings overseas. His first assignment was actually in Ethiopia that same year that he became a diplomat. And then after 3 years there, or maybe 2 years there, he was moved to various Italian cities, which included postings in Verona, Milan, and Florence from 1968 to 1972, all the while having his loyal and incredible wife, Annette, by his side as they traveled for work and grew their family together. In 1961, Annette gave birth to their first of 3 sons, William Bradford Bishop III, who actually went by Brad. In 1965, she gave birth to Brenton Germain Bishop, who went by Brent. And then in 1971, she gave birth to Jeffrey Corder Bishop, who went by Jeff, and they spelled it Jeof. So maybe Joffrey. He went by Jeff. Yeah.
It's definitely Jeff.
Now, going back to 1965, when he was posted in Ethiopia, Bradford purchased a diary that he religiously updated from October of 1965 till October of 1971, where he wrote, quote, "This diary will help give us a peek into the Bishop family's life abroad," end quote. In his diary, he detailed his day-to-day, the struggles that the family had been facing, discussing the temporary move that they had back home to California in 1970, which is when he was able to complete one of his master's degrees and Jeff was born. And then about their move just about a year after Jeff's birth, when Bradford was assigned to postings in Africa. Like, I think there was 3 different postings that he had in Africa that went from 1972 to 1974 before finally being posted back in the US for what seemed like good for now, which was at the State Department headquarters in DC as an assistant chief in the Division of Special Activities and Commercial Treaties, thus leading to the family purchasing their 4-bedroom house in the DC suburb of Bethesda, Maryland, near Carter Rock Springs, which Bradford found incredibly peaceful. He loved being outside, and it was like a really like earthy place. And they even had enough space in their new house for his 66-year-old mother, Lobelia, to move in with them in 1974. Life was good. Annette had re-enrolled in school. She was now going to the University of Maryland, where she was studying art. The kids were loving their new schools, loving their new neighborhood, their community. Lobelia really enjoyed being with her grandbabies. She also was obsessed with the family's golden retriever named Leo.
Leo,
yeah,
I love him.
And though his family was loving being back in the States in their new, peaceful, amazing home, Bradford missed the freedom that he had abroad and began applying for more overseas positions, despite his wife begging him not to. But he was now growing uncomfortable in his job, knowing that it had been almost 5 years since his last big promotion. And for a foreign service officer, aka a diplomat, this was a terrifying reality, because if you're not constantly being promoted, it's pretty much a sign that you're about to get the boot. And moved out. So he did everything he could to get himself on that promotion list for 1976, which is why he was going against his wife's wishes and applying for those overseas positions. He basically was just wanting them to see like, oh, I'm still good. Like, yeah, look, good. I still want to work. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, yeah, I have kids, so we can do it. And tragically, just 2 weeks before the promotion list was released in like the last few weeks of February of 1976, his higher ups informed him that he would not be getting promoted that year, meaning that he was probably going to be laid off. Still holding on to whatever hope he had left, Bradford continued making the ass-kissing rounds until the promotion list was released on March 1st, 1976. But he was not on it, which leads us back to those bodies that were found burning in Columbia, North Carolina on March 2nd, the day after the promotion list was released, 1976. The bodies were identified using medical records as being 37-year-old Annette, 14-year-old Brad, 10-year-old Brent, 5-year-old Jeff, and 68-year-old Lobelia Bishop. The only person missing from the Bishop family was 39-year-old Bradford Bishop, who they quickly realized was most likely the killer, meaning we have a family annihilator on the loose.
Your own mother, too, is
Your
insane.
own mother is crazy. Once the bodies were identified and connected back to Bethesda and those welfare checks that were going on at the Bishop home, North Carolina Attorney General Rufus Edmiston said, quote, after that hunch by the local Maryland police officer, everything just fell into place, according to his interview with Time magazine. Investigators then went into the Bishop's home and began reconstructing the crime based on what the victims were wearing, the findings from their autopsy, evidence that was left at the scene, and interviews with the Bishop's neighbors and co-workers, while also sending out a bolo for Bradford and the family's 1974 Chevrolet Malibu wagon. Investigators pieced together that on March 1st, after the promotion list was released, Bradford left work early and took the day off, telling his secretary that he was not feeling well, so he was leaving his office in Foggy Bottom. The last confirmed sighting of him was actually outside of his office building, so the State Department headquarters, by his colleague named Roy Harrell Jr. that he passed like as he was walking out, and Roy like tried to talk to him. I was like, hey man, like how are you doing? And he said that Bradford seemed, quote, agitated. Police believe that he then went to the bank, emptied out the family savings account before driving to Montgomery Mall's Sears store, where he purchased that 5-gallon gas can and a ball peen hammer, which is those double-sided hammers that one's like a flat-sided regular looking hammer and the other side's like a ball, like a rounded side, before going to the gas station across the street from the mall and filling up both that Chevy Malibu wagon and the gas can. After which he drove to that hardware store where he purchased a pitchfork and a shovel. It is believed that he returned home to his family's house in Bethesda somewhere between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. that night, but like in the between, we don't know what he was doing or where he was at. Now, at this point, when he returned home, his mother was out walking the family dog, Leo, golden retriever. His 3 sons were already asleep in their bed in their pajamas, and Annette, his wife, was just like about the house, walking about it, waiting for him to come home, because like, where the hell is he?
Right.
Seconds after walking in, he just began attacking his wife, killing her first with the hammer, striking her several times times on both sides of her head so forcefully that her skull was caved in.
Oh my God.
His mother, who they believe likely walked in on Annette's attack, locked herself in the bathroom before Bradford broke the door down and began attacking his own mother, but she was only hit one time on the head with the hammer, with her official cause of death being heart failure, leading many to believe that she actually suffered a heart attack when he was like trying to bust down the door to get to her.
That's fucking
so
terrible.
Horrible. Bradford then went into his oldest son's room, which is 14-year-old Brad, where he beat him to death as he slept in his bed, and they know that he attacked him while he was sleeping because he had no defensive wounds, before going to Brent and Jeff's room where they were asleep in their bunk beds and proceeded to beat them to death. And it's believed that one of them woke up and tried to fight back.
Oh my God.
They believe that Bradford then carried each of their bodies outside and into the family's car, into the trunk, before driving the 275 miles to the location of where they were found, with Leo in tow with him. He didn't hurt Leo. He just brought him with him, the dog.
Oh my God.
And this drive would have been a 5-hour drive, taking into account the fact that he's probably having to stop to let Leo go to the bathroom. Once he arrived at the location, which was now the early morning hours of March 2nd, Bradford dug a shallow ditch, piled the bodies inside, doused them in gas, and then set them on fire, fleeing the scene only after watching the fire quickly spread, which was therefore drawing a lot of unwanted attention to the location. With these developments and the fact that he was a Foreign Service officer / diplomat / military member / government employee, the story was all over the news. It took the news by storm. On March 18th, a call came in reporting an abandoned car that matched the Bolo's description at an isolated campground off the Appalachian Trail in Elkmont, Tennessee, which is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Sevier County.
Sevier County, right here. We could touch it, which is 400 miles away from where the bodies were found. And inside the car, investigators located a bloody blanket, a shotgun, a shaving kit, Bradford's medication, dog biscuits, a blanket that was covered in blood, and the spare tire well filled almost to the top with blood from where they were sitting over it.
Holy shit.
Witnesses who lived in the area or had been camping in the area told investigators that they believe that car had been parked there from anywhere between March 5th to March 7th. The next morning, March 19th, Bishop was indicted by a grand jury on 5 counts of first-degree murder along with several other charges, meaning he was now like on a most wanted list. Not like top 10 or anything, but like he has a lot of outstanding warrants for his arrest. As the news of this story spread, calls began flooding in with alleged sightings, with at least one leading to a credible sighting of Bradford purchasing tennis shoes at a sporting goods store in Jacksonville, North Carolina later in the day on March 2nd, which they were able to confirm because he used his credit card.
I mean, I'm not saying like you know how to get away with murder, but like you were counterintelligence.
Right. Well, I'll get into it here in a second, but like I think this was all very, very, very deliberate. So according to the witnesses at this sporting goods store, Bradford was seen wearing a suit. He had his golden retriever Leo with him on a leash and was possibly accompanied by a woman with, quote, dark skin of Caribbean descent, end quote. And they were both apparently acting like they were together, like a couple. And she was like trading off, holding Leo, petting Leo, all these things with the dog, which pisses me off on a different fucking level. Like, if this were Ollie and
if Aaron murdered me and he's with another woman and she's
and
petting,
Ollie's there, oh my God,
I would be risen from the grave.
Oh my God, I would dead ass like
me was like, me too, bitch.
If I saw that come across if the police brought this to me, like, so we have a recent signing as her best friend, like, we just want to let you know. I'd be like, get the bombs. Like, I don't know what else to say. We're bombing the entire state. Like, we're fucking done. Like, get SWAT team. Like, call Navy SEALs. Like, it's over. Like, dude, it's done.
I would be looking down.
You and Teresa,
looking up, looking sideways. I would be
literally so bad.
Susan's ear.
You go straight to Susan and tell me where to go. Like, because I'll go. I'd be like, look, I'm not even going to turn you in. I'm going to just kill you myself and steal Ollie back.
Yeah.
So
the disrespect.
There's that. Yeah.
That's sad.
That's so upsetting. Like, be like, it's just so disrespectful. Like, you just killed your mother, your wife, and your 3 sons, and then you're off with this bitch at a sporting goods store in a suit.
And she's petting the dog.
And she's got the dog. And you, like, not to say that, like, the dog should have died, because I don't believe that at all. No one should have died, period. But, like, most family annihilators will just kill the dog.
Right. And also, like...
Or let the dog, like, just die from starvation.
And also, like, you're telling me you had to bring the dog with you. He spent 5 hours with... He loved those boys. He loved Mama.
He's sitting in the
car. He loved
car.
Grandma. And he had to sit in the car with that?
With their dead bodies.
You fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's just beyond. So they get this call. They get this... description from the witnesses of this woman, him, and Leo. And based on these developments and the profile on Bradford that was created by John E. Douglas himself, aka FBI criminal profiler Johnny Douglas from Mindhunters. So investigators believe that Bradford joined a flow of hikers from Elkmont onto the Appalachian. Whoa. That was crazy. I almost said Appalachian.
Whoa, you northerner.
Ooh, let me get myself into check real fast. From Elkmont onto the Appalachian Trail, went off the trail and is likely like hiding somewhere, kind of like the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Park bomber did the same thing in Murphy. So let's walk through this profile. They found that Bradford was an avid outdoorsman who enjoyed camping and hiking regularly, which is why he was so obsessed with their new house and like where it was, along with riding motorcycles and working out consistently. He had his pilot's license from when he was stationed in Africa, and he really enjoyed flying, but like never went through. He was just like an amateur pilot. Bradford had a history of both insomnia, which he detailed greatly in his diaries, and depression, for which he was being treated with Serax or Ozepam, I think that's how you say it, which was a medication that was found left behind in his car when they discovered it in Elkmont, Tennessee. He is known to be incredibly fond of dogs, thus why he did not harm or abandon Leo during or after the attacks. Bradford was known to love Scotch whiskey, peanuts, and spicy foods. He had a 6-inch scar that ran vertically down his lower back from a surgery he had had years earlier, a cleft chin, and a mole on his left cheek. They believe that he was traveling with his father's Smith & Wesson M&P 38 special revolver, his Yale class ring, wallet, and his and all of his family members' diplomatic passports, as they were nowhere to be found in the home, car, or the crime scenes. With all this information, the day he was indicted, so March 19th, a manhunt through the Smoky Mountains ensued and went on for 8 days with bloodhounds, which ended up being unsuccessful. This was incredibly disheartening, but not a surprise, because he was an incredibly intelligent man who knew what they were going to do to search for him. So he likely set up all of these red herrings to keep investigators off his track and him like 10 steps ahead, and it worked. Because like
credit card,
the credit card, why would he use that? Why would he take them to Jacksonville, North Carolina, just to abandon the car in Elkmont? He's not getting on the trail. He said, where would they think I would go next? Oh, they know I love hiking. I'm gonna drop it here. They'll spend 8 days
in the Smoky Mountains,
and you can't find shit there. Even if I was there, they'll use bloodhounds. They're not going to find me because I'm not there. And he's got this woman with him who we don't know who this woman is. Wanting to get more into his headspace and try and figure out what his next moves would have been or would be, investigators began trying to nail down an exact motive for his crimes. Because although this seemed like work or financial struggles with him not getting the promotion, or even infidelity, as he had been caught cheating twice by his wife, could have led him to do this, Johnny Douglas said that these things were, quote, nothing terribly unusual for people in their 30s living in that kind of neighborhood. So, end quote, what basically meaning like we've seen people kill for far more, far less. Like, I don't think that had anything to do with it. Therefore, his motive has never actually been fully understood or explained. And this giant mystery and horrific crime pretty much possessed the media and captured the world's attention, especially knowing that with his diplomatic passports, the lack of serious airport security at the time, and his intelligence training from the 60s, he likely would have been able to easily flee the country and could be anywhere.
Holy shit.
And I mean, to this very day, he could be anywhere, because we still have no idea where he is.
Holy crap.
But that doesn't mean the case stops here. So since 1976, there have been thousands and thousands and thousands of alleged sightings of Bradford Bishop in various European countries, including Switzerland, Spain, Germany, Sweden, Greece, the Netherlands, England, Italy, Belgium, and Germany. However, of these hundreds of sightings, thousands of sightings, there are only 3 that are noted as credible by the U.S. Marshal Service. So let's walk through these 3. In July of 1978, which is just 2 years after the murder, 2 years and 6 months after the murder, no, 4 months after the murders of his family, a Swedish woman reported that she had saw, like with her own 2 eyes, saw Bradford 2 times in 1 week in a public park in Stockholm, stating that she was, quote, absolutely certain that the man she saw was William Bradford Bishop Jr. because she knew him personally.
Oh, shit.
The 2 of them had actually worked together while on a business trip in Ethiopia back in the late 60s/early 70s. However, she did not contact the police at that time immediately because she had not learned of the crimes yet. It took a lot longer to get to those, like, you know, smaller cities. And not smaller, it's a big city, but like they were mainly focusing on like the places that he had lived previously.
Right.
And this was not one of them. The second she found out about him, she immediately called the authorities in the U.S. and let them know. Then 6 months later, in January of 1979, Roy Harold Jr., which if you'll remember is the guy who was the last known person to speak with Bradford when he was leaving work on March 1st, 1976, and he said that he was agitated. Mm-hmm. And like as he was walking out the door to go drain his family's accounts, this guy, Roy, he was in the bathroom in Sorrento, Italy, when a man with a beard made eye contact with him. According to the Washington Post, Roy walked right up to the bearded man the second that they made eye contact and said, and like eye to eye, said to this man, quote, "Hey, you're Bradford Bishop, aren't you?" The man looks at him square in the face and says, "Oh no." And he says this in a very distinct American accent before literally running away from Roy.
Oh my God.
And obviously, Roy reported this. And
the universe has tried to catch him multiple times.
We're not crazy. Even, this is the craziest one. So the last credible sighting actually wasn't until 1994. So this is 15 years after Roy saw him in that bathroom in Italy. It was September 19th, 1994 in the city of Basel, I think that's how you say it, Switzerland, on a train platform when a former Bethesda neighbor of the Bishops, one of the ones who called in for the welfare check, was in this area on vacation with his family who also knew the Bishops. Their kids played together. When they're standing on this platform, he looks to his right because he said he felt like someone was looking at him. And the guy that was fucking looking at him was Bradford Bishop. He was well-dressed, well-groomed, and walking onto a train car. And quickly, like as soon as this registers in the neighbor's mind, it was too late for him to catch him because the train was already going away.
Well, and also at that point though, like you're like, this guy's a
it's
killer.
Been 15 years, exactly. Like let me look away. I don't want him to know that I saw him, but he clearly saw me. But it was too late to catch him by the time that this registered all in his head. So he like rushed to the nearest phone and called the police and reported this, according to Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest.
Readers who?
Reader who? Reader did what?
Reader where?
My God.
Reader Digest.
I couldn't even get it out of my mouth. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's
3
crazy.
people that knew him saw him.
This shows also how fucking small the world is.
I know. You know that every time he sees him, he's like, shit.
I can't get a break.
Like, oh my God.
But also like,
the universe wants you to be
if
caught.
you're gonna fucking
do that,
flee the country and just like run around every other country, like why did you have to take your family down?
Right. Like, why didn't you just abandon them?
And where's Leo?
That's the point, Morgan. That's the entire point. Okay. And I'm going to get into that. So oh no, I clicked a button. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
I hate that.
This is the worst. Okay. Over the years, the case has been featured in several national publications and TV shows, both nationally and internationally. And they have created several New Age enhanced photos and busts of him with and without facial hair to try and generate some new leads. And in 2010, America's Most Wanted revealed that authorities believe that Bishop was living in either Europe, specifically Switzerland or Italy, or in California.
Huh?
They say that they believe he might be working or had formerly worked as a teacher in any of these locations while also being involved in other criminal activities to keep his identity hidden. So like, to me, that's like getting a fake name and tax evasion and shit is what I think they mean by that, because I don't think he's going to risk doing like petty crimes and shit.
Right.
Because that would obviously like get him caught. Either way, in that episode, they also revealed for the first time that before the murders, they found out that Bishop had been corresponding with a federal prison inmate named Albert Kenneth Bankston, who was in the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Ohio for robbing banks. Like he was like a bank bank robber. Anyways, so for this, to figure out what the fuck that they found
possibly
out,
talked about,
I had to make a stupid Washington Post membership. I had to pay 99 cents, which is like at that point,
it's $1.99 because you got a foreign charge.
yeah. True. It was. I did get a foreign. And like, isn't that the Washington Post? Why am I getting a foreign charge? Crazy. Anyway, so I had to pay 99 cents for it. So I'm going to get every single bit of that 99 cents back, and I'm going to tell you everything that was in this article. So you don't have to do it anyways. In September of 1992, investigators in Montgomery County, I know I say Montgomery like that because that's like Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery.
Yeah, like I say it like Alabama says it, but Montgomery County, Maryland, found this letter in Bradford Bishop's files at his office at the headquarters for the State Department, and it was postmarked March 15th, 1976. So just 14 days after the murders. And by the way, this is from Bankston to Bishop, okay? So Bankston sent this, postmarked it, on March 15th, 1976, which is 14 days after the murders. This was likely delivered to his office a few days later, which is why it wasn't found at the time when the FBI and the local sheriff's department searched his office, because they searched it on March 15th, which is the day that the letter was sent. But what makes no sense to me is why it wasn't turned in the very second that it was delivered to his office by anyone, like the mailman, anyone. We know that this guy's on the run and he just got a letter, and we know that the FBI just raided his shit. Like, why are we not turning this in? Especially because it was allegedly opened by his secretary before she read it and then placed it back into his files, which were then packed up and stored away until 1992, when they were like, oh, do you still have his stuff? And they're like, yeah, we do. And they went and got it.
Like, where'd this come from?
Right. According to the Washington Post, this letter indicated that he may have tried to hire a hitman before committing the murders himself, which is interesting considering the fact that the order of events that we know and that they theorize happen make it seem like it was because he wasn't on the promotion list that he just snapped and killed them that day. Also in this letter, they found that it's possible that Bradford Bishop had, quote, long-standing plans to dispose of their bodies, either himself or someone else, in North Carolina, in this area, and then have a rendezvous with a woman that was in that state. End quote.
That's interesting.
Yet, they also say that the letter makes, quote, no mention of the murder plot, but does offer new insight into Bishop's preparations for the crime, end quote. Though they could not find any other records of additional correspondence between Bishop and Bankston, who wrote this letter, placed a number 6 at the top of the page and then made references to letters 4 and 5 that he said he wrote to Bishop the month prior. So like, we know they were talking and that this is the 6th letter that he has sent, but where those letters are, what was said, we have no idea. They've never been found. And this is what was said in one section of the letter. Bankston writes, quote, now in order to answer your question, yes, I am most sure that she is in North Carolina State Penitentiary, end quote, which investigators believe is in reference to that woman that he was seen with at that sporting goods store holding Leo, that I almost just called Ollie out of that conversation. Right. Holding Leo on March 2nd, 1976, the day after the murders took place, which was the same day that he had set their bodies on fire and went on the run. Bankston also wrote, quote, you could walk to Phelps Lake from Cresswell. I think that's about 5 miles, end quote, which are both locations just a few miles each away from the location that the bodies were discovered. There were several people mentioned in this letter, either by just their first names or by nicknames / code names, that investigators had to work really hard to track down and figure out who is who, considering that Bankston died of cancer in 1983 in Mississippi after getting an early medical release from prison. But investigators were able to track down one of the men that is only referred to as Sonny, or Sony. It's spelled Sony, but it's Sonny, you guys know, in the letter. And they don't ever fully identify who this Sonny guy is, but they say, this is what the investigators say that they will use as his identifying markers. Quote, he is an inmate, leader of the white supremacist Aryan Nation and the so-called Southern Mafia, end quote, which, by the way, the Southern Mafia is often referred to, like if you're referring to the Southern United States, is often referred to as the Cornbread Mafia. So he would have ties to Sevierville, Murphy, Columbia, North Carolina. They all operate within like Appalachia.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Now, what the fuck?
I'm sorry, the Cornbread Mafia?
Yeah, it's called the Cornbread Mafia.
The Cornbread?
Cornbread Mafia.
Cornbread with chili on top?
Like, okay.
Like, that's what.
Just please.
Did they think like, oh, they'll never
we
track this
fucking did it with this one, the Cornbread Mafia. They're gonna think we're a bunch of group of taste testers. That's what it is.
This is the one, the Moonshine Mafia.
Yes, Moonshine Mafia sounds way more hard than Cornbread Mafia. Anyways,
Bootlegger Mafia.
Yeah, Bootlegger Mafia, Dolly Mafia.
Exactly.
There we go. That's the one. Okay. Anyway, so they tracked this guy down because, by the way, he's still an inmate. Shocker. White supremacist, inmate, Cornbread Mafia motherfucker. I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
So anyways, they interview him and they learn that Sonny believes that Bradford Bishop had offered to provide Bankston a passport in return for information on how he could hire a hitman, which helped them to understand this one particular section of the letter where Bankston wrote, quote, I was only interested in Mexico and or Central America, as you know, end quote. Another person that was identified as being mentioned in the letter was David Paul Allen, who was in jail in Salt Lake City for parole violations. I could never find what his what his initial charges were, but he was in a federal prison, so I'm sure it's not anything good. I mean, he's clearly running around with this Sonny motherfucker.
Right. Can't be good.
Can't be a good guy. Gotta think so. Anyways, investigators interviewed David Paul Allen, but he gave them the impression that he did not know anything about Bradford Bishop, but he was able to direct them to some people, aka other criminals that Bankston had correspondence with during that time and was his little circle. However, in an interview with the Washington Post, David Paul Allen told them, quote, Bishop wanted a shooter. He was willing to spend good money and more to kill his family, end quote. And also alleged that Bradford Bishop, quote, hired a couple of men to do the job, but they took off on him, end quote. And I actually have the letter. I was able to find a copy of it through WikiLeaks. Thank God. But it's in cursive, and because of that, plus the handwriting and how whitewashed it is from being copied so many times, it makes it kind of hard to read. So I'll link it in the show notes for you, and I'll try to read it right now for you. But if it just sounds like a bunch of mumble jumble, I'm just going to take it out and then y'all can go read it yourselves. All right. I'm going to try my best. It says, Mr. Bishop, after reviewing everything, I'm sorry. I mean, it's bad. DPET.
Is the link in your Google Docs?
Yeah.
Let me try to help you decipher.
In the fourth. Okay, here we go. After reviewing everything in the fourth and your suggestions, I can see that you would be in a better seat to see the jack. I think that's to see the jack. Needless to say, I have no way to express my heartfelt thanks. As I stated in my February letter, number 4, David Paul Allen knew the route this was taking and blank. Then we have contacted Miss K and the Attorney General in
Mexico.
Oh, the Attorney General in Mexico. Though a mistake, I failed to
make copies. I failed to produce copies.
Though the mistake, I failed to blank copies. However, I feel the impact will be justified. Will be justified.
In just
the impact will be justified. Just
In just the letter.
In just the letter. Okay. Now, in answer to your question, yes, I am most sure she is in the North Carolina State Penitentiary. I underlined, do not know why Sammy would tell you. Sonny. Oh, yeah. Sonny would tell you something that could very easily be pulled. When I wrote you in February, letter number 5, and explained that she was there and that David Paul Allen knew, this quote, Sonny in Atlanta. The fuck is his handwriting? In Atlanta. I am sure he is a capable person and that he knows, this is horrible, and that he knows all about Cresswell. In fact, David said you could walk to Phelps Lake from Cresswell. I think it's about 5 miles. I really don't see what this has to do with me, Mr. Bishop. I was only interested, there we go, in Mexico and or Central America, as you know, underline. I suggest you and David get together in this, as he is well known
in that area.
Mr. Bishop, I will not write you again until the triangle to North Dakota? Is that what that says?
Transfer.
Transfer to North Dakota. I am really glad blank this as I'm really glad of this as I am fed up with the feds here. Sincerely, A. Ken Bankston. Inmate 9306. Wow.
Holy hell.
Yeah. You guys can go try your best to decipher that. It's like such a light gray.
Atlanta.
Thank God we had double eyes on that. I'm like, where the fuck? At the triangle in North Dakota? The corn on Oak Island? Like literally. Dear God. Okay, let me go back. So there you go. Go read that on your own. I don't know if that's even going to make it into the show because my God. Anyways, then on April 10th, 2014, the FBI placed Bradford Bishop on their top 10 most wanted fugitives list. And in the conference where they announced this, they stated that he was, quote, likely living in plain sight in the United States and avoiding discovery by avoiding arrest, as well as releasing several images and sculptures that have been age progressed of Bishop for the age that he would have been at the time, so 77, before a local news station in DC, which is WRC-TV, launched a webpage displaying multiple investigative reports and extensive information about the Bishop family, including samples of his handwriting, fingerprints, because obviously he was a military member and a government employee, so we have his fingerprints, so he can't commit any crimes or else we'll get him.
Yeah.
Fingerprints, dental records, and unseen family videos of the Bishop family. But then on June 27th, 2018, happy whatever birthday to me, 21st?
2018, yeah. 2016, you would have turned 18, 17, 19, 20th.
Yeah, 20th?
Wait, 2020 or 2021?
2020, no, 2018.
Oh, 16, you turned 18, right?
No,
After
yeah, 16,
high
I
school.
turned 18. 17,
19, 20, you're 20.
20, I was in Ireland.
Wait.
Yeah, I was in Ireland.
18.
That's right, I turned 20 in Ireland. Okay, perfect. So this is my 20th birthday. They take him off the top 10 most wanted list because he would have been 81 at the time and they wanted to make room for other more dangerous fugitives. However, he is still being actively pursued by the FBI and an Interpol red notice is still in effect for him, which is essentially like an international most wanted list. Then though, because of course the story can't end there, in March of 2021, a break in this decades old case came when a woman came forward alleging that she was the biological daughter of William Bradford Bishop Jr. According to a March 9th, 2021 article from the Washington Post, I'm telling you guys, I read every single article that they have. I was not 99 cents, baby. $1.99 because it was foreign. Okay. Kathy Gilchrist, who knew she was adopted her entire life as she grew up just south of Boston, sometime around 2016, she just like wanted to know if she had any family out there that was more like her, quote, fiery type A personality, which she says is very different from her adoptive parents. So she bought a 23andMe DNA test. At first, she only received one distant family connection, and it was a third cousin named Susan Gilmore living in Maine. Now, the two began chatting and became best friends because they realized, other than their oddly similar last names, so Gilmore, Gilchrist, they had a lot more parallels in their lives. Both went to college and majored in English, then became teachers, and then left their careers as teachers. Both had blonde hair, but even more uncanny was the fact that Susan, when she stopped being a teacher, it's because she became a genealogist.
Cool.
Yep, and offered to dig a bit deeper into Kathy's DNA to help her figure out who her birth parents were, also in connection to her family. Now, after some time, and by that I mean years of going through records and all the things, she landed on the surname Bishop, and the pieces just fell into place from there. When Kathy first saw a picture of her birth father, Bradford, she knew it was him and was so shocked to see how much herself and her kids resembled him. And by the way, I'm going to try to get a pic of these two beside each other. It's crazy. Like, copy and pasted.
Ooh.
Copy and pasted. Either way, not to mention how shocked she was to learn that both her and her birth father struggled with insomnia. She was like, it was so crazy. I never knew anyone that struggled with insomnia. And then to see that, it was like, oh, it's genetic. Great. Love that.
Love that for me, yeah.
They eventually found Kathy's adoption records, where they learned that when she was born in 1957, so when Bradford was at Yale.
Oh.
AKA 2 years before he married Annette.
Okay.
Her mother, when she was born, put a different name for the father, and same went for the original birth certificate that they discovered. And what Kathy told the Bethesda Beat News about this was, quote, either she was really confused or was leading a life that involved keeping a lot of secrets, but either way, there's a lot of mystery here, end quote. And she is not wrong, because over the years, many people have come forward with stories and theories about why Bradford Bishop did what he did, or if he had done it at all, especially because so much of his life is still classified due to his work. So let's walk through the biggest theories. So Morgan, what was it you said to me earlier? And I was like, oh, we're going to go through that.
Why would he, if he's just going to go live this life, why did he have to take his family out first?
Right, exactly. Like if he was just trying to get the hell out, like why did you have to kill your family? So the most common and what I refer to as the most tame theory about Bishop's reasonings for killing his family actually revolves around that letter from Bankston. Many people believe that the reason Bishop wanted to have his family murdered by a hitman and not himself was not because of any troubles that he was having at work or at home. I guess a little bit having to do with work, more so as a tactic to get sympathy from his employers so that they would give him the promotions that he wanted, and since he would be single, allow him to go on more overseas postings. However, when he allegedly paid the team that he hired, according to that letter, and they ran out on him, and the conversations with David whatever the hell and Sonny Cornbread Man, they think that they walked out with his money and didn't kill his family, and then plus the fact that he was passed over for that promotion made him snap because he blamed his family for quote unquote holding him back. The second theory actually comes from Sheriff Ray Kite, who worked the investigation. I believe he was a sheriff in Montgomery County, Maryland. And this actually stems from the fact that there is a lot of drama around evidence, jurisdiction, case files, and allegedly people believe that the FBI has come in and or the government has come in and covered some things up and kept it from the local police departments. But essentially, Sheriff Kite believes that Bishop was possibly working with the CIA, but specifically MK Ultra.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
This
here
is
we
the
are.
Sheriff's
The
theory?
sheriff.
Wow.
And that's like sheriffs don't just be saying that.
No.
Yeah. But like the call out
Does
specifically
the
to
timeline
MK
line up? What was the year in 60s?
In 1976 is when he murdered the family. So when was MK Ultra?
I think it was like 60s, 70s.
The start date was 1953. It was halted in 1973.
Okay, so it's still going on.
So it was okay, but either way, so it was still going on. He didn't murder them until 1976, but 1973 is when they moved to Bethesda. So anyways, he
Halted.
halted, quote unquote, quote, not happened. Didn't get halted.
Just went under.
Either way, he says that he was working with the CIA specifically on Project MK Ultra, and it was under the effects of the powerful drugs that he was given during the project that he believed he had to kill his family, and thus did kill his family. Now, both of these are great theories that I could see being true. Like, I'm not going to put anything past it. He was a super smart person and probably did feel like his family was holding him back. And he was so power hungry, I am sure he probably did any work that the CIA would offer him. However, the most popular theory actually ties back to his work in Yugoslavia. And that 16-day vacation that he took there and got in trouble for after his assignment of intercepting military transmissions from there. Essentially, people believe that he was working as a spy using his persona as a diplomat as a disguise. He was found out, thus why he didn't get the promotions and why he was spiraling over wanting to go back overseas before he didn't get the promotions, because he needed more, quote, in his own words, verbatim, freedom. And those that believe this also theorize that his family was killed as a revenge tactic for his work with Yugoslavia, either by the US or people there in Yugoslavia, if he was doing like counterintelligence, like if he was a double-sided agent.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Now, the main reason people believe this is actually because it is well known that during the Cold War, there was a Department of State Security Administration in that country that did train a group of, quote, secret police who were known to carry out high-profile assassinations, and their preferred method of killing was always bludgeoning their victims to death with hammers. So if that were the case, did he stumble upon his family's bodies and hide them to keep his cover and go on the run to keep himself safe? Or was he taken captive or even killed himself? Obviously, these are just theories, but he has become somewhat of a crossover between John List, the family annihilator, and D.B. Cooper, which we know who D.B. Cooper is. But that is a very condensed and condensed and quick, and shocking that this was quick or condensed, but that is a very condensed and quick version of this massive mystery with several theories and rabbit holes that you can fall down of William Bradford Bishop Jr.
So I just looked like what Yugoslavia is today, because that was like a whole.
Yeah.
So it's Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and Macedonia.
Yes.
All 5 of those together were Yugoslavia. I think he was, and Montenegro.
Right.
Today. Yes, Montenegro. I think he was a fucking double agent. And I think, even if he didn't do it, he would have known that everything would have pointed to him.
Right.
But then you have the letters.
Right.
And I'm like, what were you writing fucking letters for?
Why were you wanting to hire hitmen?
Unless they weren't his letters. And they were like hiring out people in the fucking jails.
Or maybe these people in the jails were actually a part of MK Ultra as well, and or the secret police or whatever the fuck, or counterintel. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And how easy is it to forge a fucking letter also that was never found?
Right. Happened to never be found. And it's referencing these 2 other letters, but they never found it. Well, do they not keep fucking records of
what goes in and out of a prison?
Right. Don't they scan all letters? They scan all letters that go in and out.
Maybe not then.
No, they do. That's where that photocopy came from.
Oh, then I don't. How do you just lose it?
How do you lose it?
That is crazy.
But that's my case.
I think that, even if he was MK Ultra, he also could have been like a participant.
Yeah.
Not only just like a carry, like in charge, but like a participant.
Well, that's what I think he's saying, because he was administered drugs.
Yeah. And he snapped.
Yeah.
And he probably thought if he was a double agent, he probably thought people in Yugoslavia were after him.
Right. Right.
Why would he go there for 16 days?
After he just intercepted shit from there.
Yeah, like that's so dangerous, buddy. Get the fuck out of there.
It really does seem like he went over there to become a mole. Mm-hmm. And like that
was looking for more career opportunities and was like, here's what I can do for you.
Because he thinks he's so, he is so intelligent, but we know that people that are that intelligent and have this God complex that he very clearly had. I don't believe for one second that he wasn't the one that killed his family. Why he killed his family? Because why
no one ever found Leo.
Right. And why? No, they never found Leo. They don't know where the fuck Leo's at. I did see a bunch of reports that they actually exhumed a man that was hit by a car while walking on the side of a highway in Alabama. And they exhumed his body because of incredible similarities between his fingerprint and William Bradford Bishop Jr.'s fingerprint, but it ended DNA.
Wasn't a match.
Yeah, they did DNA and it wasn't him.
Scared me.
Mila, Jesus. Yeah, but anyways.
That's crazy. I can't wait to jump down a rabbit hole.
Oh, there's crazy shit. I didn't even let myself go to Reddit because I started to and I was like,
I'm gonna be so fucking deep. Like yours were tame.
yeah,
I'm going
this
in,
was
bitch.
tame. Like I gave you truly just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I can see how
theories
this could,
are beyond.
was
Like
the
you
CIA.
could do an
It was the
entire
government.
another thing on it. Like
I
no
can already
shit.
hear it.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, that's my case. Thanks for joining us this Thursday.
Love you guys. Thank you
Love
for that,
you.
Taylor. I was really
Yeah, you know, we also have another thing we need to say. Love you.
love you guys. Bye.
We'll talk to you on Tuesday for TBB, and I think this is my spiral.
Ooh,
Ooh,
spicy.
Yeah. All right. Love you. Bye.